Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Nature channel. I am so glad you're here tonight. Find a comfortable place, let your shoulders drop, and take a slow, deep breath with me. In and out. Good. Tonight, we are going to walk together through one of the softest secrets the natural world has ever whispered. A pattern so gentle, so quietly woven into everything around you that you have probably felt it 1,000 times without ever knowing its name. It is called Fibonacci, and it is not a difficult thing. It is not something cold or complicated. It is simply the way nature likes to grow. It is the way a leaf unfolds in the morning light. It is the way a wave curls before it rests on the shore. Tonight, we are going to wander through that pattern together, one small moment at a time, and let it carry you deeper and deeper into stillness. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a very old sunflower field. The evening light is golden and warm, and the air smells like dry hay and earth. You look down at one of the sunflower heads, one that has already bloomed and is now quietly holding its seeds. The seeds are arranged in tiny rows, curving gently to the left and to the right, like the softest spirals you have ever seen. And here is something beautiful. If you were to count those spirals going one way, you might find 13, and if you counted them going the other way, you might find 21. 13, 21. These are numbers that belong to a very special sequence, one that starts with just 1 and 1, and then each number is simply the sum of the 2 before it. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. And the sunflower has been using this pattern for millions of years, long before anyone thought to write it down. Now, let your gaze drift upward from the sunflower, up into the warm evening sky, where a single bird is circling lazily above the field. Watch how it turns. There is a kind of effortless grace in the way it moves, and if you were patient enough to trace the path of its wingtips against the clouds, you might see something like a spiral, a shape that echoes the same quiet rhythm as the seeds below. Nature does not rush. It simply turns, and in turning, it finds the most peaceful way to move through the world. Come closer to the ground now. Kneel down in the grass, which is soft and slightly cool beneath your hands. Look at one single blade of grass near your knee. It is so small, so unremarkable, and yet the way it grows, the tiny way it splits and branches as it reaches upward, follows that same gentle sequence. The grass does not think about it. It simply grows, and in growing, it traces the same path that a river traces when it finds its way to the sea. And speaking of rivers, imagine you can hear one nearby, not loud, not rushing, just a quiet, steady murmur, like someone whispering a lullaby from very far away. Rivers have a way of winding through the land in curves that feel almost musical. And those curves, when you look at them from high above, often follow patterns very close to this same sequence. The water does not choose to do this. It simply flows where the land guides it, and the land has been shaped by millions of years of rain and wind and patience. If you like what you are feeling right now, this quiet, this softness, I hope you will leave a little comment down below, even just a small one. It means so much to know that you're here, listening, breathing along with me. And if you have not yet explored the playlist on this channel, I gently encourage you to do so when you are ready. There are many more nights like this one waiting for you there. Now let your eyes close just a little and picture yourself walking slowly through a pine forest. The trees here are tall and straight, and their needles are arranged along each branch in clusters. In many pine species, those clusters come in groups of 2 or 3 or 5, all numbers from that same quiet sequence. 2 needles, 3 needles, 5 needles. The pine does not count them. It simply grows the way it has always grown, and the result is something so balanced, so naturally beautiful, that it has inspired artists and mathematicians alike for centuries. Beneath your feet, the forest floor is covered in fallen pine cones. Pick one up gently. Hold it in your palm. Feel how light it is, how the scales curve away from the center in those same soft spirals. The pine cone has been growing this way since long before the first human walked through a forest. It is one of nature's oldest and quietest signatures, and it fits perfectly in your hand as though it were made to be held. The air in this forest is cool and smells like resin and damp earth. A shaft of sunlight falls through the canopy above, and for a moment, the whole world seems to glow. In that light, you can see the dust motes floating, tiny particles drifting in lazy, almost circular paths. Even they, in their wandering, seem to follow the gentlest of curves. Everything here is turning, everything is spiraling, and none of it is in any hurry. Sit down at the base of one of the old pine trees. Press your back against the bark, which is rough and warm from the afternoon sun. Above you, the branches spread outward in layers, and if you tilt your head back and look up, you can see how each layer of branches is arranged around the trunk in a pattern that allows every branch to catch as much light as possible. This is another expression of the same sequence. Nature solving the problem of how to grow, not with force, but with elegance. A small breeze moves through the canopy, and you hear the needles rustle. It is one of the softest sounds in the world, like 1,000 tiny whispers all at once. The breeze carries the scent of the forest deeper into your lungs, and with each breath, you feel a little more settled, a little more at peace. The trees around you have been breathing this way for decades, some of them for centuries. They are very patient, and tonight they are sharing that patience with you. Somewhere above you, a small bird lands on a branch. It is a wren, perhaps, or a sparrow, something quiet and unassuming. Watch how it hops from one branch to the next. The way the branches are spaced apart, the way they angle outward from the trunk, all of this creates a kind of natural ladder, and the bird moves through it as easily as water flows downhill. The tree and the bird have been partners for a very long time. The tree offers shelter, and the bird offers song, and neither one asks for anything in return. The light is beginning to fade now. The golden warmth of the afternoon is softening into a cooler, bluer tone, and the shadows between the trees are growing longer and deeper. This is one of the most peaceful times in any forest. The hour when the day begins to let go and the night begins to whisper hello. The insects are quieting down, the birds are finding their roosts, and the trees themselves seem to settle just slightly, as though they too are preparing for rest. You notice, as the light fades, how the moss on the north side of the tree trunk has a particular softness to it. It is green and damp and cool to the touch, and it grows in patches that seem almost random, but are actually shaped by the way moisture and shadow fall across the bark. Even moss, in its quiet way, is responding to the same invisible forces that shape everything else in this forest. Nothing here grows without reason. Nothing here grows without grace. As you sit there, back against the tree, eyes drifting slowly upward through the layers of branches and needles, you begin to feel something settle over you. A warmth, a heaviness in the best possible sense. Your breath is slowing. The forest is breathing with you. And now, let your gaze travel downward again to the ground near your feet. There, half buried in the leaf litter, is a small fern frond that is not yet fully unfolded. It is curled tightly into a spiral, a shape so perfect, so symmetrical, that it looks almost like it was drawn by hand. This shape is called a fiddlehead, and it is one of the most beautiful expressions of the Fibonacci pattern you will ever see. The fern does not hurry its unfolding. It takes days, sometimes weeks, to slowly open, one tiny curl at a time, until it becomes the wide, flat leaf that will catch the light filtering down from the canopy above. There is something deeply comforting about watching something grow so slowly, so deliberately, without any rush at all. Near the fern, a thin stream of water trickles over a mossy stone. It is barely more than a trickle, just enough to catch the fading light and turn it into something that glimmers. The water moves around the stone in a gentle curve, and that curve, like so many curves in nature, carries the echo of the same ancient pattern. The stone itself is smooth and cool, worn down over many years by the patient passage of water. If you were to pick it up and hold it, you might notice that it fits your palm almost perfectly, rounded and balanced, as though the river had been sculpting it just for you. A dragonfly hovers nearby, its wings beating so fast they are almost invisible. But look closely, or rather, feel the tiny vibration of air as it passes, and you can sense the intricate geometry of its wings. The veins within each wing branch outward in patterns that echo the way a river branches, the way a tree branches, the way a snowflake forms. The dragonfly does not know any of this. It simply flies, and in flying, it is one more thread in the great, quiet tapestry that nature has been weaving since the very beginning of time. The evening deepens around you. The sky above the treetops has turned from gold to a soft, deep blue, and the first stars of the evening are beginning to appear, faint and quiet, like tiny seeds planted in the dark. The air has cooled just enough to make the blanket of stillness feel like something you could wrap around your shoulders. The forest is settling into its nighttime rhythm, slower, quieter, softer, and you are settling with it, your breathing matching the gentle, unhurried pace of everything around you. The night has settled fully around you now, and you have moved from the pine forest to somewhere new, somewhere closer to water. You are sitting on a smooth, flat rock at the edge of a very still lake. The surface of the water is like dark glass, and it reflects the stars above so perfectly that for a moment it is hard to tell where the sky ends and the water begins. Everything is doubled here, above and below, light and shadow, and the world feels twice as peaceful because of it. Listen to the water. It is not silent exactly. There is a faint, rhythmic lapping at the edge of the rock beneath you, a sound so quiet and so steady that it is almost like a heartbeat. The lake is breathing in its own slow way, and you are breathing with it, in and out. The water moves just a little, and then it settles, and then it moves again. There is no hurry here, There never has been. Now, look down into the water near the shore, where it is shallow enough to see the bottom. The stones there are covered in a soft layer of algae, green and smooth, like tiny blankets draped over the rocks. The algae grows in patterns that are shaped by the current, by the light, by the gentle movement of the water itself. And if you look closely, really closely, you might notice that some of the algae forms tiny spirals, curling around itself in the same quiet way that the fern frond curled in the forest. It is the same pattern, showing up again, in a completely different place, in a completely different way. Nature loves to repeat itself, but it always finds a new way to say the same thing. A frog sits on a mossy stone just a few feet from the water's edge. It is perfectly still, perfectly content, and its skin is the deepest green you have ever seen, a green that seems to glow faintly in the starlight. The frog has been sitting here for a while, perhaps, listening to the lake the way you are listening to it now. And if you were to look at the pattern of spots or markings on its back, each species has its own unique arrangement. You might find shapes that echo the Fibonacci sequence in subtle ways. Nature marks its creatures with signatures, quiet and beautiful, that connect them to the same great pattern that shapes everything else. The air above the lake is very still, and in that stillness you can smell the water, a clean, cool, slightly green smell that fills your lungs and makes you feel lighter. This is the smell of a healthy lake, a living lake, one that has been sustaining life for thousands of years. Tiny insects hover just above the surface, their wings catching the faintest glimmer of starlight. They move in patterns that seem random, but are actually shaped by the currents of air and the positions of the lights above, a kind of invisible choreography that has been playing out every single night since long before there were any people here to watch it. If you enjoy this feeling, this deep, quiet calm, I would love it if you left a small comment below, even just a word or two. It is a lovely thing to know that someone is here with me in this stillness. And if there are other stories on this channel that you have not yet listened to, please do take a look at the playlist when you are ready. There is no rush. They will be there whenever you need them. Now, let your attention drift to the far side of the lake, where the water meets a gentle slope of earth covered in tall grass. The grass sways very slightly in a breeze you can barely feel, just the faintest movement of air, cool and soft against your skin. Each blade of grass bends at a slightly different angle, and the way they overlap and layer on top of each other creates a texture that is remarkably complex, yet somehow perfectly harmonious. If you were to count the way the grass blades arrange themselves around a single stem, the angles at which each blade emerges, you would find numbers very close to those in the Fibonacci sequence. The grass does not know this. It simply grows upward, one blade at a time, and in doing so, it creates something that is quietly, effortlessly mathematical. A small ripple moves across the surface of the lake, perhaps caused by a fish moving beneath the water, or perhaps by nothing more than a single raindrop that fell from a cloud long ago and is only now being remembered by the surface. Watch the ripple as it spreads outward from its center. It moves in a perfect circle at first, expanding ring by ring, and as it reaches the edges of the lake and meets the shore, it bends and curves in ways that are shaped by the contours of the land. The ripple does not fight the shoreline. It simply adjusts, flowing around obstacles the way water always does, with patience, with grace, with an almost musical ease. Beneath the surface of the lake, where you cannot see, there is a world of quiet activity. Small fish move through the water in schools, their bodies turning in coordinated patterns that make the group look almost like a single living thing. The way they turn, the way each fish responds to the movement of the one nearest to it, creates formations that spiral and curve in ways that are hauntingly similar to the patterns you have seen in sunflowers and pine cones. It is the same impulse expressed in a completely different medium: water instead of air, swimming instead of growing. But the underlying rhythm is the same. The night is very deep now, and the stars above the lake are bright and numerous. You lie back on the smooth rock, which is cool but not uncomfortable, and you look up at the sky. The stars do not, of course, form Fibonacci spirals. They are scattered across the heavens in patterns shaped by distances so vast that they are almost impossible to imagine. But the galaxies that contain them, those great wheels of light turning slowly in the darkness, do spiral. And those spirals, when astronomers have measured them, follow patterns very close to the same sequence that the sunflower uses, that the fern uses, that the pine cone uses. The same quiet mathematics written across the largest and the smallest scales of the universe alike. A bat flies overhead, its wings beating in a silent, flickering rhythm. It is hunting insects, but there is nothing violent or frightening about it. It is simply feeding the way all living things feed, and the way it moves through the air is so fluid, so effortless, that it looks almost like a dance. The bat's echolocation, the way it senses the world around it through sound, creates a kind of map in its mind. And that map, like so many things in nature, is shaped by the geometry of the world it moves through. Curves and angles and distances, all processed in an instant, all allowing the bat to move through the darkness with a grace that seems almost magical. You are growing very drowsy now. The sound of the water, the cool air, the vast quiet of the night, all of it is working together to make your eyelids feel heavier, your body feel softer, your mind feel quieter. This is what nature does best. It does not demand your attention. It simply offers it gently, like an open hand, and if you accept, it carries you somewhere very peaceful indeed. Near the water's edge, a small cluster of water lilies floats on the surface. Their leaves are round and smooth, and they overlap each other in a way that is both random and perfectly balanced, each leaf positioned so as not to shade the others too much, so that every one of them can catch the light it needs. This is another expression of the pattern. Nature solving the problem of space and light, not through competition, but through arrangement. The lilies do not push each other aside. They simply find their place, and in finding it, they create something beautiful. A gentle mist has begun to rise from the surface of the lake. It is very thin, barely visible, but you can feel it on your skin, a cool dampness that settles on your face and hands like the softest possible touch. The mist forms in tiny droplets, each one a perfect sphere, and as they drift and combine in the still air, they create patterns that are almost invisible, but are nonetheless there. Tiny, fleeting expressions of the same forces that shape everything else in this quiet world. Even mist, even the invisible moisture in the air, is part of the pattern. Look at the reeds growing at the edge of the lake, where the water meets the muddy shore. They grow tall and straight, their stems rising from the water in clusters, and the way they are spaced, the distance between one reed and the next, follows a rhythm that allows each one to receive enough light and enough water without crowding its neighbors. The reeds sway very gently in the night breeze, and the sound they make is like a whisper, a continuous soft rustling that blends into the other quiet sounds of the lake. Some of the reeds have seed heads at the top, small, feathery clusters. And those clusters, when you look at them closely, are arranged in patterns that echo the same sequence you have been noticing all evening. A fish rises to the surface of the lake, just briefly, just enough to catch an insect floating on the water. And then it disappears again, leaving behind a single, perfect ripple. The ripple spreads outward in a circle, and as it passes the water lilies, it lifts them very gently, just a millimeter or two, before settling them back down. It is such a small movement, such a quiet event, and yet it is a reminder that the lake is alive, full of creatures moving and feeding and living their lives in the darkness beneath the surface, in a world you cannot see but can feel, the way you can feel the heartbeat of someone sleeping beside you. The frogs at the edge of the lake have begun to sing. Their song is not loud. It is a soft, rhythmic croaking, repeated at regular intervals, and it has a quality almost like music. Each frog sings at its own pace, in its own key, and the result is a kind of natural chorus that fills the night air with a sound that is both ancient and deeply soothing. Frogs have been singing like this for hundreds of millions of years, long before there were any human ears to hear them. And the song they sing tonight is the same song their ancestors sang in the primordial swamps at the dawn of life on Earth. The stars are very bright now, and the lake is very still, and you are very comfortable on your smooth stone by the water. Your breathing has slowed to match the rhythm of the lapping water, in with the gentle pull of the lake, out with its quiet release. And somewhere beneath the surface, the fish are sleeping, and the algae is dreaming its green dreams, and the whole quiet ecosystem of this lake is resting the way you're resting, in the deep and peaceful dark. You have drifted now to a new place, a hillside covered in wild flowers. It is early morning here, and the light is the softest gold you have ever seen, falling at a low angle across the slope and turning every petal into something that glows. The air is warm and sweet, heavy with the scent of 100 different blooms, and a gentle breeze moves through the flowers, making them nod their heads as though they are agreeing with something only they can hear. Look down at the flowers nearest to you. There's a daisy, a simple, common daisy, and at its center, where the white petals meet, there is a tiny disc of yellow. That disc is made up of hundreds of smaller flowers packed tightly together, and they are arranged in spirals. If you were to count those spirals, curving one way and then the other, you would find numbers from the Fibonacci sequence, perhaps 13 going one way and 21 going the other. The daisy has been doing this for millions of years. It is one of the oldest and quietest expressions of the pattern, and it is so common, so everyday, that most people walk past it without ever noticing the mathematics growing right beneath their feet. A bumblebee lands on the daisy, its body dusted with golden pollen. Watch how it moves across the center of the flower, not randomly, but in a path that takes it efficiently from one tiny bloom to the next. The bee does not know about Fibonacci. It does not know about mathematics at all. It simply follows the scent and the texture of the flower, and in doing so, it traces a path that is remarkably similar to the spirals already built into the daisy's structure. The flower and the bee have evolved together over a very long time, and the result is a partnership so smooth, so seamless, that it looks like nothing at all. Just a bee on a flower on a warm morning in a field of gold. Move your gaze a little to the left, and you will see a patch of clover. The leaves are heart-shaped and green, and they grow low to the ground in a dense, soft carpet. Each clover plant has 3 leaves, almost always 3, and 3 is one of the numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. Occasionally, very rarely, you might find one with 4 leaves, and that rarity is what has made the 4-leaf clover a symbol of good fortune for so long. But the 3-leafed ones are the true miracle if you think about it. Millions and millions of tiny plants, all choosing the same number, all growing in the same quiet, reliable way, day after day, year after year. The hillside slopes gently upward, and as you walk up it, slowly, there is no hurry, the flowers change. The daisies give way to buttercups, which are a deeper, richer gold, and their petals are arranged in layers that overlap each other in a way that is both simple and surprisingly complex. Each buttercup has 5 petals, 5, another Fibonacci number, and they are arranged around the center with a symmetry that is almost mathematically perfect. The buttercup does not aim for perfection. It simply grows the way it has always grown, and perfection is what results. A ladybug crawls across one of the buttercup petals, moving very slowly, very deliberately. Its shell is bright red with black spots, and the spots are arranged in a pattern that is unique to each individual ladybug. No 2 are exactly alike, just as no 2 human fingerprints are alike. The ladybug pauses at the edge of the petal as though it is considering whether to jump or to stay. And then it simply continues on its way, unhurried and untroubled. There is something deeply peaceful about watching a small creature move through the world with such quiet confidence. If you're enjoying this journey through the flowers, I hope you will think about leaving a comment below when you are ready. It is such a warm thing to know that someone is listening. And the playlist on this channel has many more stories like this one. Each one a different corner of the natural world. Each one an invitation to rest and breathe and let go. They are there whenever you need them. Higher up the hillside, the flowers thin out and give way to longer grass, which sways in the breeze in long, golden waves. The grass here is a different kind, taller, more graceful, and it moves with a fluidity that makes it look almost like water. If you watch a single stem of grass as the breeze passes through it, you can see how it bends, not breaking, not resisting, but yielding, curving, and then slowly returning to its upright position. This is the wisdom of grass. It does not fight the wind, it dances with it, and in dancing, it survives. At the top of the hillside, there is a single old oak tree. Its trunk is thick and gnarled, and its branches spread wide and generous, like arms opened in welcome. The leaves of the oak are arranged along each branch in a pattern called phyllotaxis, a word that simply means the way leaves are placed on a stem. And that pattern like so many patterns in nature, follows the Fibonacci sequence. Each leaf is positioned so as not to block the sunlight from the leaves below it. The oak has been solving this problem for centuries, and it has solved it beautifully. Sit beneath the oak for a moment. The shade is cool and dappled, and the light that filters through the leaves creates shifting patterns on the ground, patches of gold and green that move and change as the breeze stirs the canopy above. These patterns are never the same twice. They are constantly shifting, constantly rearranging themselves, and yet they always feel harmonious, always feel balanced. This is because the leaves above are arranged in a way that distributes light as evenly as possible, and the result on the ground below is a kind of natural art that no human hand could replicate. A squirrel sits on one of the lower branches, holding an acorn in its paws. It is eating very quietly, very carefully, and every few seconds it pauses to look around, not out of fear exactly, but out of a kind of alert contentment, an awareness of the world around it. The acorn it is holding is a seed, the beginning of another oak tree potentially. And inside that seed, the blueprint for the same Fibonacci patterns you see in the branches above is already encoded, waiting to unfold over decades and centuries to come. The breeze picks up just slightly, and a shower of leaves drifts down from the canopy above. They fall slowly, spinning and turning as they descend, and each one catches the light for a moment before settling on the ground. The way they spin as they fall, the gentle rotation, the lazy spiral, is another expression of the pattern. A falling leaf is not random. It is shaped by air and gravity and the geometry of its own body, and the result is a descent so graceful, so unhurried, that it is almost hypnotic to watch. You notice as you sit here that the bark of the oak tree has a texture to it, deep furrows and ridges that have been carved over many years by the slow growth of the tree. If you trace one of those ridges with your finger, you might find that it curves, gently, almost imperceptibly, in a way that echoes the spirals you have seen elsewhere. The tree's bark is not smooth. It is a map of time, a record of every year the tree has lived, written in wood and weather and patience. The morning light is growing warmer now, and the hillside around you is fully awake, buzzing with insects, rustling with small movements, alive with the quiet business of 1,000 tiny creatures going about their day. But none of it feels busy or rushed. It feels purposeful and peaceful, the way a beehive feels peaceful to someone watching from the outside. A great deal of activity, but all of it harmonious, all of it fitting together like the pieces of a puzzle that has been assembling itself for millions of years. A butterfly lands on your knee. It is a small one, perhaps a skipper or a blue, and its wings fold and unfold very gently, as though it is breathing through them. The patterns on its wings are intricate and beautiful, and some of them, the way the veins branch, the way the colors are distributed, carry echoes of the same mathematical harmony you have been seeing all morning. The butterfly does not know this. It simply sits and rests and breathes, and in a moment it will fly away again. But for now, it is here, and you are here, and the hillside is golden, and everything is very, very still. Near the top of the hill, where the grass meets a small copse of birch trees, you notice how the birch trunks are marked with dark patches against their white bark. These patches, called lenticels, are the tiny pores through which the tree breathes, exchanging gases with the atmosphere. They are arranged along the trunk in a pattern that, when counted carefully, often follows numbers from the Fibonacci sequence. The birch does not choose where to place them. They simply appear where the bark needs to breathe, and the result is a pattern that is both functional and, in its own quiet way, beautiful. A ladybird rests on the underside of an oak leaf nearby, tucked away from the afternoon sun. It is very still, very patient, conserving its energy for the cooler hours of the evening when it will emerge to feed. The spots on its back are arranged in a pattern that is unique to its species, and that pattern, like so many patterns in nature, carries subtle echoes of the mathematical relationships you have been noticing all morning. The ladybird does not know this. It simply rests and breathes and waits and is perfectly content with its small corner of the hillside. The clouds above the hillside are beginning to thicken, and the light is softening, and the air has a quality of gentle heaviness that suggests rain might come later. But for now, everything is dry and warm and golden, and the wildflowers are still open, and the bees are still flying, and the hillside is still humming with the quiet activity of a summer afternoon. You breathe in the scent of the grass and the flowers, and you breathe out, and the hillside breathes with you, and the afternoon settles around you like a warm and gentle blanket. The butterfly has flown, and you have moved again, gently, as though carried by the breeze itself, to a new place. You are now on a beach, but not a loud or busy beach. This is a quiet shore, early in the morning, with no one else around. The sand beneath your feet is cool and damp from the tide that has just gone out, and it is the color of warm honey in the pale light. The waves are very small here, just gentle laps at the waterline, and their sound is like a continuous, soft murmur, a lullaby that the ocean has been singing for longer than anyone can remember. Look down at the sand near your feet. The tide has left behind a scattering of shells, small ones mostly, the kind that are easy to overlook. But pick one up, hold it in your palm. It is a spiral shell, perhaps a nautilus or a moon snail or something smaller and less well known. And its shape is one of the most famous expressions of the Fibonacci pattern in all of nature. The shell spirals outward from its center in a curve that grows wider and wider, but always in the same proportion, always maintaining the same relationship between each turn and the next. This curve has a name, the golden spiral, and it is one of the most beautiful shapes in mathematics. But here, on this quiet beach, it is simply a shell, a small, light, cool thing resting in your hand. The shell was made by a small creature, a mollusk, that built it gradually over its lifetime, adding new chambers as it grew. Each new chamber was slightly larger than the last, and the proportion between one chamber and the next followed the Fibonacci sequence. The creature did not plan this, it simply grew, and in growing, it created something so mathematically perfect that scientists have been studying it for centuries. But here, on the beach, it is just a shell, and it is beautiful precisely because it is so simple, so quiet, so unassuming. Set the shell down gently on the sand and let your gaze travel along the shoreline. The beach curves away from you in both directions, and the curve of the shore is itself a kind of spiral. Not a perfect one, but a gentle, sweeping arc that has been shaped over millennia by the action of waves and tides and wind. The coastline is always changing, always shifting, but it changes slowly, and the overall shape it maintains has a quality of balance, of harmony, that speaks to the same deep patterns you have been noticing all along. A wave comes in, a small one, barely more than a ripple, and it breaks with the softest sound, like a sigh. Watch the foam it leaves behind as it retreats. The foam spreads across the wet sand in a thin, lacy layer, and the bubbles within it are arranged in patterns that are surprisingly complex. Hexagons and pentagons and other shapes, packed together as efficiently as possible. This is not unique to ocean foam. It is the way bubbles arrange themselves anywhere. In a bath, in a glass of sparkling water, in the honeycomb of a beehive. Nature always finds the most efficient way to fill space, and the result is something that looks almost designed. I hope you are feeling very relaxed right now. The sound of the waves, the cool sand, the quiet of this empty beach, it is such a peaceful place to be. If you would like to share how you are feeling, please do leave a comment below. And if you are new to this channel, I warmly invite you to explore the playlist. There are stories about forests and mountains and starlit nights, and each one is an invitation to rest. They will be there for you whenever you need them. A hermit crab moves across the sand in front of you, carrying its shell on its back. It moves very slowly, very carefully, picking its way across the wet sand with a kind of quiet determination. The shell it carries is a spiral, another expression of the pattern, and it fits the crab's body perfectly because the crab chose it for exactly that reason. When a hermit crab outgrows its shell, it finds a new one that is slightly larger, and the progression of shell sizes it moves through over its lifetime follows a sequence that is remarkably close to the Fibonacci numbers. The crab does not know this. It simply finds a shell that fits and moves on. The sand beneath your feet has a texture to it, fine and granular, shifting slightly with each step. If you were to pick up a handful and let it fall through your fingers, you would see that each grain is a tiny, irregular shape, a fragment of rock or shell or coral, worn smooth by years of tumbling in the surf. The grains are not all the same size. They come in a range from very fine to slightly coarser, and the way they pack together, the way they fill the spaces between each other, is another example of nature's efficiency, another quiet expression of the same underlying geometry. A seabird flies low over the water, its wings barely moving. It is gliding on the air currents, using the lift generated by the waves to stay aloft without expending much energy at all. The path it traces through the air is not a straight line. It curves and dips and rises, following the contours of the wind. And if you were to trace that path on a piece of paper, it might look something like a spiral. The bird does not think about this. It simply flies the way it has always flown, and the wind does the rest. Near the waterline, where the sand is darkest and dampest, there are tiny holes in the beach, dozens of them scattered across a stretch of shore. These are the burrows of sand crabs or razor clams, creatures that live just beneath the surface and emerge at night to feed. The holes are arranged in a pattern that looks almost random, but is actually shaped by the way the creatures space themselves out, each one keeping a certain distance from its neighbors, so that they do not compete for the same food. This spacing, when measured carefully, often follows ratios very close to the golden ratio, the mathematical relationship at the heart of the Fibonacci sequence. The tide is very still now at its lowest point, and the beach stretches out before you in a wide, flat expanse of wet sand that gleams in the pale morning light. It looks like a mirror reflecting the sky above in a way that makes the whole world feel doubled, as though there are two heavens and two shores, and you are standing right at the boundary between them. This is one of the most peaceful sights in all of nature. A beach at low tide, perfectly still, perfectly quiet, perfectly balanced between the sea and the sky. A piece of driftwood lies nearby, smooth and pale and bleached by years of sun and salt. Pick it up. Feel how light it is, how the wood has been worn down to something almost like bone. The grain of the wood, the lines that run through it, tells the story of how the tree once grew, ring by ring, year by year, and those rings, when the tree was alive, followed patterns shaped by the same forces that shape everything else. Now, the wood is just driftwood, just a smooth piece of something that used to be alive, and it is beautiful in its own quiet way. You set the driftwood down and sit on the sand, drawing your knees up to your chest. The breeze is very gentle here, carrying the salt smell of the ocean and the cool dampness of the early morning. The waves continue their quiet murmuring, and the sky above is beginning to lighten from pale blue to something warmer, something that suggests the sun is not far away. You feel very calm. Your body is heavy and comfortable, sinking slightly into the soft sand, and your breath is slow and even, matching the rhythm of the waves as they come and go in their endless, peaceful cycle. A tiny crab emerges from one of the burrow holes and moves quickly across the wet sand. It is so small that you might miss it entirely if you were not looking, and it disappears again in seconds, ducking back into its hole as though it has remembered something important. But for that brief moment, you saw it, a tiny burst of life, quick and purposeful, on this otherwise still and quiet beach. And even that small crab, in its tiny way, is part of the pattern. Everything here is. The morning light strengthens, and the beach begins to glow. The sand turns from honey to gold, and the water at the shoreline catches the light and sparkles. And for a moment, the whole scene looks like something out of a dream, soft and warm and impossibly peaceful. You let your eyes half close, and you breathe in the salt air, and you listen to the waves, and you feel very deeply that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. The tide has begun to come back in now, very slowly, and the waterline is creeping up the beach toward you. It moves so gently that you can barely see it moving, just a fraction of an inch at a time, advancing and retreating with each small wave. The tide is driven by the gravitational pull of the moon, which is somewhere above you right now, invisible in the daylight sky, but exerting its quiet influence on every drop of water in every ocean on Earth. The tide does not hurry. It simply comes and goes in a rhythm that has been repeating for billions of years, and there is something deeply comforting about that constancy. Near the waterline, where the sand is darkest and wettest, tiny air bubbles are rising to the surface, each one a perfect sphere, popping with the softest sound as it reaches the top. These bubbles are created by small creatures living just beneath the sand, clams or worms or other inhabitants of the beach. breathing and moving in their underground world. Each bubble is a tiny window into that hidden life, a brief glimpse of the activity happening just below your feet. And then it is gone, replaced by another and another, in an endless, quiet sequence. A piece of sea glass lies near the water's edge, a small, smooth oval of frosted green, worn down by years of tumbling in the surf. Pick it up and hold it to the light. The glass was once a bottle or a jar, sharp-edged and angular, but the sea has transformed it into something soft and beautiful, something that catches the light and holds it gently like a tiny lantern. The sea does not intend to make sea glass beautiful. It simply tumbles the glass round and round, wave after wave, and beauty is what results. It is another example of the way nature transforms things, not through force, but through patience and time. The sound of the waves has a rhythm to it, not a strict, mechanical rhythm, but a looser, more organic one, like the breathing of someone who is almost asleep. Each wave is slightly different from the last, slightly larger or smaller, slightly faster or slower, but the overall pattern is consistent, and it has a quality of deep, reliable steadiness that makes it one of the most soothing sounds in the world. You have been listening to it all morning, and by now, it has become part of the background of your experience, something you feel more than hear, like the rhythm of your own heartbeat. The beach has faded behind you now, like a dream you were just having, and you find yourself somewhere new, somewhere higher up on the side of a gentle mountain. The air here is cooler and thinner, and it tastes different, cleaner somehow, as though it has been washed by the clouds that drift past at this altitude. The slope beneath you is covered in a mosaic of lichens and mosses and small, hardy flowers, and the colors are extraordinary. Greens and golds and soft purples and whites, all blending together into something that looks like a painting. The mountain rises above you in layers, and each layer has its own character. Down where you are standing, the vegetation is dense and colorful. Higher up, the trees thin out, and the rocks begin to show through. And higher still, above the tree line, there is nothing but bare stone and sky. But even here, at this middle height, the pattern is present. Look at the way the rocks are arranged on the slope, not in neat rows, but in a kind of natural scatter that, if you look at it long enough, begins to reveal an underlying order. The rocks have been placed here by glaciers and erosion over thousands of years. And the way they have settled, the way they have found their resting places, is shaped by gravity and the contours of the land in ways that echo the same mathematical relationships you have been seeing all along. A small stream runs down the mountainside nearby, and you can hear it. A bright, clear sound, like tiny bells being struck very gently. Follow it with your eyes. The water moves down the slope in a series of small cascades, each one flowing into the next. And the path it takes is not a straight line. It curves and bends around the rocks, finding the easiest route downhill. And those curves, those gentle bends in the water's path, carry the same quality of proportion and balance that you have seen in shells and sunflowers and the spirals of ferns. Sit down on one of the flat rocks near the stream. The rock is warm from the sun, which has been shining on it all morning, and it is smooth and comfortable beneath you. The sound of the water is very soothing, a constant gentle murmur that seems to fill the air and settle into your bones. Close your eyes for a moment and just listen. The stream does not hurry. It simply moves, one small step at a time, from this rock to the next, from this pool to the next, on its long, slow journey down to the valley below. When you open your eyes again, you notice a small flower growing in a crack in the rock near your hand. It is very small, perhaps no bigger than your fingernail, and it is white, with petals arranged around a tiny yellow center. Count the petals if you can. You might find 3 or 5 or 8, all numbers from the Fibonacci sequence. The flower does not choose how many petals to have. It simply grows the way its species has always grown, and the number it arrives at is one that allows it to capture light and attract pollinators in the most efficient way possible. A butterfly, a different one from the one on the hillside, lands on the flower. It is larger than the hillside butterfly, with wings that are a deep, rich orange, patterned with black lines and small white dots. It opens and closes its wings very slowly, as though it is breathing. And for a moment, you and the butterfly are perfectly still, perfectly quiet, perfectly together. The butterfly's wings are covered in tiny scales, thousands of them. And those scales are arranged in rows that follow patterns shaped by the same underlying geometry that shapes everything else in nature. But you do not need to know this to appreciate the beauty of the wings. You simply need to look. A gentle wind moves across the mountainside, and you feel it on your face, cool and fresh and carrying the scent of pine and stone and the distant sweetness of snow. The wind does not blow in a straight line. It follows the contours of the mountain, curving around ridges and filling valleys, and the path it takes is shaped by the same forces, the same relationship between shape and flow that shapes the spirals of shells and the curves of rivers. Even the wind, invisible as it is part of the pattern. I want you to know how glad I am that you are here listening to this. If you feel moved to leave a comment, please do, even a small one. And if you have enjoyed this story, I hope you will take a moment to like it and to share it with someone who might enjoy it too. The playlist on this channel is full of nights like this one, and I hope you will visit it again soon. Above you, the mountain continues to rise, and the clouds drift past at the higher altitudes, casting moving shadows on the slopes below. Watch one of those shadows as it moves across the mountainside. It travels slowly, silently, and as it passes over the rocks and the flowers and the small patches of snow that still cling to the higher ground, it changes shape, stretching and compressing and curving in ways that are determined by the terrain beneath it. The shadow is not a living thing, of course, but it moves with a kind of grace, a kind of fluid responsiveness to the world around it that makes it feel almost alive. Near the stream, a small pool has formed in a hollow in the rock. The water in the pool is perfectly clear, and you can see the bottom. Smooth stones covered in a thin layer of green algae, and a few tiny insect larvae moving slowly through the water. The surface of the pool is still, and it reflects the sky above in a perfect mirror, and the edges of the pool, where the water meets the rock, form a curve that is shaped by the contour of the hollow. It is a very small world, this pool, just a few feet across, but it is a complete one. with its own ecosystem, its own rhythms, its own quiet life. A dragonfly hovers over the pool, its wings a blur of movement. It is hunting, but there is nothing aggressive about it. It is simply doing what dragonflies have been doing for hundreds of millions of years, long before the dinosaurs, long before the first trees grew. The dragonfly is one of the oldest types of flying insect on Earth, and it has changed very little over all that time. Its wings, its body, its way of moving through the air, all of it has been refined over millions of generations into something that is almost perfectly efficient. And efficiency in nature very often means following the Fibonacci pattern. The stream continues its quiet murmuring beside you, and the sun moves slowly across the sky, and the shadows shift on the mountainside, and you feel very peaceful, very settled, as though you could stay on this warm rock forever and never want to move. Your breathing is slow and even, and your body is relaxed, and the mountain around you is ancient and patient and completely unhurried. This is a place where time moves differently, where a single afternoon can feel like a lifetime, and where the silence is not empty but full of the quiet sounds of water and wind and the soft rustling of small creatures going about their business in the rocks and the grass. A small lizard basks on a nearby rock, its body perfectly still, soaking up the warmth of the sun. Its skin is a dull, dusty brown, and it blends almost perfectly with the color of the stone beneath it. The lizard does not move unless it has to. It is conserving energy, staying warm, enjoying the sun in its own quiet, reptilian way. And if you were to look very closely at the scales on its body, you might notice that they are arranged in rows, and those rows, when counted carefully, often follow numbers from the Fibonacci sequence. The lizard does not know this. It simply sits and basks and breathes and is perfectly content. The afternoon light is beginning to shift now, turning from the bright, clear gold of midday into something softer and warmer. The shadows on the mountainside are growing longer, and the air is beginning to cool. And somewhere in the distance you can hear the faint sound of birds settling down for the evening. The mountain is preparing for night, the way it has prepared for night every single evening for millions of years. And there is something deeply comforting about that continuity, about knowing that this same scene, this same slow transition from day to night, has been playing out here long before you arrived, and will continue long after you have gone. You lean back against the rock and let your eyes drift closed. The sound of the stream fills your ears, soft and constant, and the warmth of the stone seeps into your back, and the mountain holds you in its ancient, patient embrace. You are very close to sleep now, and that is perfectly all right. The mountain will keep watch while you rest. The mountain stream continues its quiet murmuring, and you find yourself watching the way the water moves around a large boulder in the middle of the stream. The water does not crash against the boulder. It simply flows around it, curving gently to one side and then the other, and the shape it carves in the water as it passes is a smooth, flowing curve that echoes the spirals you have seen elsewhere. The boulder has been here for a very long time, and the water has been flowing around it for just as long, and the two of them have reached a kind of equilibrium, a perfect balance between resistance and flow that is beautiful to watch. A small moss-covered stone sits at the edge of the stream, half in the water and half out. The moss on it is a vivid, saturated green, the kind of green that seems almost to generate its own light. And it is very soft to the touch, like a tiny cushion. The moss has been growing on this stone for years, fed by the moisture of the stream and the dappled light that filters through the trees above. It grows so slowly that you would never notice it changing from one day to the next, but over years and decades, it has covered the stone completely, turning a bare rock into something that looks almost alive. Above you, a hawk circles in the sky, riding the thermal currents of warm air that rise from the sun-heated rocks below. It moves in slow, wide circles, each one slightly larger than the last. And the path it traces against the blue sky has a quality of effortless grace that is mesmerizing to watch. The hawk is not flapping its wings. It is simply holding them out, letting the air do the work, and the way it turns, the angle of its body, the slight adjustment of its tail feathers, allows it to stay aloft for hours without expending any energy at all. It is one of nature's most elegant solutions to the problem of flight. Sleep has carried you gently to a new place, and when you become aware of your surroundings again, you find yourself in a bamboo grove. The bamboo grows tall and straight around you, much taller than you might expect, and the stalks are a pale, luminous green that seems to glow into soft, diffused light. The air here is cool and humid, and it smells like rain and earth and something faintly sweet. A breeze moves through the tops of the bamboo, and the stalks sway and click softly against each other, making a sound like very quiet wind chimes. Look up. The bamboo rises above you in a dense canopy of leaves, and the light filters down through them in shifting, dappled patterns. The leaves are long and narrow and arranged along each stalk in a way that allows every leaf to catch as much light as possible. Another expression of the Fibonacci pattern. Another quiet solution to the problem of how to grow efficiently in a crowded space. The bamboo does not compete with its neighbors for light. It simply arranges itself in the way that works best for everyone, and the result is a grove that feels balanced and harmonious and deeply peaceful. Bamboo is not actually a tree, though it looks like one. It is a grass, the tallest grass in the world, and it grows remarkably fast. Some species can grow several inches in a single day, pushing upward from the ground with a quiet, steady persistence that is almost visible if you watch long enough. And the way it grows, the way each new section of stalk emerges and hardens, follows a pattern of increasing size that echoes the Fibonacci sequence. Each new joint is slightly larger than the last, in proportions that are close to the golden ratio. A panda moves through the grove somewhere nearby. You cannot see it clearly. It is half hidden by the stalks, but you can hear it, the soft crunch of bamboo as it eats. The panda is one of the gentlest creatures on earth, and the way it moves through the bamboo grove has a quality of quiet contentment that is almost contagious. It sits, it eats, it rests. It does not hurry, it does not worry. It simply lives in this cool green world, surrounded by the soft clicking of bamboo and the distant sound of water. At the base of the bamboo stalks, the ground is covered in a thick layer of fallen leaves, old, dry, curled into small spirals. Each leaf has curled this way as it dried, the moisture leaving the leaf unevenly, causing it to twist and turn into a shape that is, once again, a kind of spiral. Pick up one of these leaves and hold it gently. Feel how light it is, how fragile. It was once green and alive, part of the bamboo's canopy, catching sunlight and turning it into food. Now it is dry and brown and curled, but it is still beautiful, and it is still part of the cycle. It will slowly decompose and return its nutrients to the soil, feeding the roots of the bamboo that will grow above it. A small stream runs through the grove, and you can hear it, a quiet, steady sound like a whispered conversation between the water and the stones. The stream is shallow here, and the water moves over the rocks in tiny cascades, each one catching the light and turning it into a brief, bright sparkle. The rocks in the stream bed are smooth and rounded, worn down by years of water flowing over them, and they are arranged along the stream in a pattern that looks random, but is actually shaped by the current. Each rock in the position where the water has deposited it, where it has finally come to rest after being carried downstream. If you are feeling peaceful right now, and I hope you are, please know that your presence here means a great deal. If you would like to leave a comment, even just a few words, I would love to hear from you. And the playlist on this channel has many more evenings like this one, each one a different journey through the natural world. I hope you will explore it when you are ready. The bamboo stalks creak softly as the breeze moves through them, and the sound is so gentle, so rhythmic, that it has a quality almost like music. It is not music, of course. It is just the sound of wood moving against wood. But there is a harmony to it, a natural musicality that comes from the way the stalks are spaced and the way they respond to the wind. The spacing between the stalks is not uniform. Some are closer together, some farther apart. But the overall arrangement creates a kind of visual and auditory rhythm that feels balanced and pleasing in a way that is hard to explain but easy to feel. A small bird, perhaps a warbler or a flycatcher, hops along one of the bamboo stalks, moving upward from joint to joint. The joints are spaced at intervals that increase slightly as you move up the stalk, and the bird navigates them with ease, hopping from one to the next in a quick, light rhythm. The bird is looking for insects, and it finds them easily in the crevices where the leaves meet the stalks. It eats quickly and quietly, and then it moves on, disappearing into the green canopy above. The humidity in the bamboo grove means that everything here feels slightly damp. The air, the stalks, the leaves on the ground. Tiny droplets of moisture cling to the bamboo, catching the light and turning each stalk into something that seems to shimmer very faintly. This moisture is not from rain. It is simply the way the grove breathes, drawing water up from the soil and releasing it into the air through the leaves. The bamboo is constantly cycling water, constantly exchanging moisture with the atmosphere, and the result is an environment that feels cool and fresh and alive in a way that is deeply soothing. Near the edge of the grove, where the bamboo thins out and the light grows brighter, there is a patch of moss growing on a large, flat stone. The moss is impossibly green, a green so vivid and saturated that it seems almost to glow. And it covers the stone in a layer so soft and even that it looks like velvet. If you were to touch it, It would feel cool and damp and extraordinarily gentle against your fingertips. The moss grows very slowly, just a tiny fraction of an inch per year, and it has been growing on this stone for a very long time. It is one of the most patient organisms on Earth, and there is something deeply calming about its quiet, unhurried existence. The bamboo grove is beginning to darken as the afternoon wears on, and the shadows between the stalks are growing deeper. The light that filters through the canopy is softer now, more golden, and it falls in long, slanting shafts that make the grove look almost magical. You sit down on the mossy stone, which is cool and comfortable beneath you, and you let the sounds of the grove wash over you, the clicking of bamboo, the murmur of the stream, the occasional call of a bird somewhere in the canopy above. It is a symphony of quiet sounds, and it is lulling you into a state of perfect, deep relaxation. A dragonfly lands on a bamboo stalk near your head, folding its wings back with a delicate precision. Its wings are transparent, and in the golden light, they catch tiny rainbow colors, greens and blues and purples, that shimmer as the dragonfly shifts its position. The dragonfly is perfectly still, perfectly balanced on the stalk, and it stays there for a long time, simply resting, simply existing in this cool green world. You watch it for a while, and then your gaze drifts away, upward into the canopy, where the leaves are rustling in the breeze and the light is fading slowly into dusk. The panda has moved on somewhere deeper into the grove, and the bamboo stalks sway gently in its wake. The grove is settling into evening now, and the sounds are changing. The birds are quieting, the insects are beginning their nighttime chorus, and the bamboo itself seems to breathe more slowly, as though it too is preparing for rest. You close your eyes and listen, and the world shrinks down to just this: the cool air on your skin, the soft sounds of the grove, the gentle weight of your own body on the mossy stone. And it is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. The bamboo grove is alive with tiny sounds, the clicking of stalks, the rustling of leaves, the occasional drip of water from a leaf to the ground below. Each sound is very small on its own, but together they create a kind of continuous low murmur that fills the air and settles into your bones. It is not silence exactly. It is something richer than silence, something that has texture and depth and a quality of gentle, continuous presence. The bamboo grove has been making these sounds for as long as bamboo has been growing here, and they are as much a part of the grove as the stalks themselves. Near the base of one of the larger bamboo stalks, a tiny mushroom has appeared overnight. It is very small, no bigger than a pea, and it is pale and delicate, with a cap that has just begun to open. The mushroom is not a plant. It is a fungus, and it grows from a network of fine threads called mycelium that spreads through the soil beneath the bamboo grove, connecting the roots of the bamboo plants in an invisible web. This web allows the bamboo to share nutrients with its neighbors, and the way the mycelium spreads, branching and dividing in patterns that echo the way rivers branch and the way blood vessels branch, is another expression of the same underlying geometry. A small gecko clings to one of the bamboo stalks, its feet gripping the smooth surface with a remarkable adhesion. The gecko's feet are covered in millions of tiny hair-like structures called setae. and the way those setae interact with the surface of the bamboo. The way they create a bond through molecular forces is one of the most remarkable feats of biological engineering in an Earth. Scientists have been studying gecko feet for decades, trying to understand how they work, because the technology could revolutionize the way we attach things to surfaces. But here, in the bamboo grove, the gecko simply clings and breathes and waits and is perfectly content. The evening light continues to deepen, and the bamboo grove settles into its nighttime rhythm. The insects begin their chorus, a high, continuous hum that fills the air like a blanket of sound. And the bamboo stalks creak softly in the cooling breeze, and the moss on the ground releases its stored moisture into the air, adding to the humidity that keeps everything here so green and so alive. It is a world that sustains itself quietly and continuously, without any help from the outside. You have drifted again, carried on the current of sleep, and now you find yourself somewhere very different, on a wide, open plain, under a sky that stretches endlessly in every direction. It is night here, and the stars are extraordinary. There are so many of them, thousands upon thousands, that the sky looks almost bright, a deep, rich blue-black scattered with points of white and silver light. The Milky Way arches overhead like a river of light, and you can see it clearly, a broad, luminous band stretching from one horizon to the other. The plain beneath you is covered in tall grass, a sea of grass that moves in slow, long waves as the wind passes over it. The sound it makes is like a very quiet, very continuous sigh, a sound so soft and so constant that after a while you stop hearing it consciously and simply feel it, the way you feel the rhythm of your own breathing. The grass is silver in the starlight, and it stretches as far as you can see in every direction, and there is something profoundly peaceful about standing in the middle of it, surrounded by nothing but grass and sky and stars. Look up at the stars again. They do not, of course, arrange themselves in Fibonacci spirals. They are scattered across the cosmos in patterns shaped by the vast, incomprehensible forces of gravity and time. But the galaxies that contain them do spiral. The Milky Way itself, the galaxy we live in, is a spiral galaxy, and its arms, the great sweeping curves of stars and gas and dust, follow proportions that are remarkably close to the golden ratio. The universe, it seems, has been using the same quiet mathematics since the very beginning, the same pattern that a sunflower uses, the same pattern that a nautilus shell uses, written across billions of light years of space. A shooting star streaks across the sky, a brief, bright line of light that appears and disappears in less than a second. It is not actually a star, of course. It is a tiny piece of space debris, a grain of sand perhaps, or a small pebble, burning up as it enters the atmosphere. But for that one brief moment, it was the brightest thing in the sky, and it was beautiful. And now it is gone, and the sky is just as it was before. There is something very peaceful about that, about beauty that appears and disappears so quickly, without making any demands on you at all. The wind moves across the plain, and the grass bends and rises and bends again, and the sound it makes is like breathing, the breathing of the earth itself. You stand very still in the middle of it, and the grass moves around you, parting slightly where your legs are, and then closing again behind you, and you feel as though you are standing in a living thing, something vast and slow and deeply patient. The plain has been like this for thousands of years, covered in grass, open to the sky, visited by wind and rain and sun in an endless cycle that has no beginning and no end. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear the call of an owl, a soft, low sound that carries across the plain with surprising clarity. The owl is hunting, but its call is not alarming. It is simply a sound, a communication, a signal, a piece of the nighttime symphony that plays out across this landscape every single night. The owl sees the world differently from you. It sees in the dark, using light that you cannot perceive, and the way it locates its prey, the way it triangulates sound with its asymmetrical ears, is a remarkable feat of natural engineering. But from where you are standing, all you hear is a soft, repeated call, and it is one of the most peaceful sounds in the world. I hope this night sky and this quiet plain are bringing you peace. If you would like to tell me so, a comment below would make my evening. And if you have not yet explored the full playlist on this channel, I hope you will do so soon. There are many more journeys like this one waiting for you there. Quiet corners of the natural world, each one an invitation to let go and rest. A fox moves through the grass nearby. You can barely see it, just a shadow among shadows, a quick, fluid shape that passes through the tall grass without a sound. The fox is alert but calm, moving through the darkness with a confidence that comes from knowing this landscape intimately. Its fur is the color of burnt orange, though in the starlight it appears almost black. The fox pauses for a moment, raises its head, and listens, its ears turning slightly like small satellite dishes, picking up sounds that you cannot hear. And then it moves on, disappearing into the grass as silently as it appeared. The stars continue their slow rotation overhead, and the Milky Way drifts imperceptibly across the sky, and the grass continues its endless, quiet swaying. Time moves very slowly here, on this open plain, under the stars. There is no clock, no schedule, no sense of hurry. There is only the wind and the grass and the stars and the occasional call of a bird or an owl in the darkness. And it is enough. It is more than enough. Near your feet, a small beetle moves across the ground. A dark, shiny creature, no bigger than a grain of rice. It moves with a quiet purposefulness, navigating the base of the grass stalks as though it were moving through a forest. And in a sense it is. The grass stalks, from the beetle's perspective, are enormous structures towering overhead like trees. The beetle does not know about Fibonacci or golden spirals or any of the mathematics that shape the world around it. It simply moves and feeds and lives, and in doing so, it is part of the same great pattern that connects everything else on this plain. The grass, the fox, the owl, the stars. A cloud drifts across part of the sky, and for a moment it obscures a patch of stars. The cloud is thin and wispy, a cirrus cloud, high and delicate, and it moves very slowly, carried by winds at an altitude where the air is cold and thin. The edges of the cloud are soft and feathery, and if you look at them closely, you might notice that they have a quality of fractal complexity. The same shapes repeating at different scales, smaller and smaller, like the branches of a tree or the tributaries of a river. This is another expression of the pattern. Nature using the same basic principles at every scale, from the spiral of a nautilus shell to the spiral of a galaxy. The cloud passes and the stars are fully visible again, and the plain stretches out around you in every direction, silver and dark and impossibly quiet. You breathe in the cool night air, and it fills your lungs with a freshness that seems to come from very far away, from the mountains perhaps, or from the ocean, carried here by winds that have traveled thousands of miles. And you breathe out, and the air leaves you, and you breathe in again, and the cycle continues, the way it has continued for every breath you have ever taken, steady and automatic and utterly reliable. A small rodent, a mouse perhaps, or a vole rustles in the grass near your feet. You cannot see it clearly, but you can hear it, a tiny, quick sound, like a whisper. It is looking for food or for shelter, or simply exploring its small corner of the plain. The mouse lives in a world of grass stalks and soil and starlight, and it knows that world intimately, every path, every hiding place, every source of food. It is a very small creature, but it is perfectly adapted to its life, and there is something quietly inspiring about that. The night deepens around you, and the stars wheel slowly overhead, and the grass sways and sighs, and you feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper into a state of perfect calm. Your body is weightless here, supported by the soft ground and the cool air and the vast, patient darkness. The plain holds you the way a mother holds a sleeping child, gently, securely, with no intention of letting go. And you let yourself be held, and you breathe, and you listen to the grass, and the night carries you gently, gently toward sleep. The grass on the plain rustles and whispers around you, and the sound it makes is like a continuous, very soft conversation, one that has no beginning and no end, no words and no meaning, just a gentle, flowing sound that fills the night air and settles into your consciousness like a lullaby. The grass does not know it is making music. It simply moves in the wind, and the wind simply blows across the plain, and the result is a sound that is one of the most peaceful and soothing in all of nature. Near your feet, a small hole in the ground marks the entrance to a rodent's burrow. The hole is very round, almost perfectly circular, and around it, the grass has been worn away by the passage of small bodies going in and out. The burrow beneath the surface is a network of tunnels and chambers, and the way those tunnels branch and connect, the way they spread outward from a central point, echoes the branching patterns you have seen in trees and rivers and the veins of leaves. The rodent did not plan this network. It simply dug where it needed to dig, one tunnel at a time, and the pattern that resulted is one that nature produces again and again in every medium at every scale. A meteor streaks across the sky, longer and brighter than the shooting star you saw earlier, and for a few seconds it blazes across the darkness like a thread of fire, leaving a fading trail of light behind it. And then it is gone, and the sky is dark again, and the stars continue their slow, patient rotation overhead. The meteor was traveling at tremendous speed when it entered the atmosphere, but from where you are lying in the grass, it looked almost leisurely. A slow, graceful arc of light against the dark. Perspective changes everything. From far away, even the fastest things look peaceful. The wind shifts direction very slightly, and the grass around you responds immediately, bending in a new direction, creating a new pattern of movement across the plain. The wind on a plain like this is constantly changing, shifting direction, varying in speed, responding to the subtle differences in temperature and pressure across the landscape. And the grass responds to every change, creating a constantly evolving tapestry of movement that is hypnotic to watch. No two moments look exactly the same, and yet the overall impression is one of deep, continuous harmony. The plain has dissolved around you, and you have arrived somewhere new, a place where the air is warm and thick with moisture, and the sounds are different from anywhere you have been before. You are in a tropical rainforest, but it is not loud or overwhelming. It is early morning, and the light is just beginning to filter through the canopy high above, and everything feels new and fresh, as though the world has just been washed clean by the rain that fell during the night. The ground beneath your feet is soft, a thick layer of fallen leaves and decomposing plant matter that cushions every step. The smell is rich and earthy, like wet soil after a storm, and it is one of the most comforting smells in the world. The smell of growth, of renewal, of life sustaining itself in an endless cycle. Somewhere above you, water drips from leaf to leaf, each drop falling a little farther before it reaches the ground, and the sound it makes is like a very slow, very gentle percussion. Drip, drip, drip. A rhythm that has been playing here since long before there were any human ears to hear it. Look up into the canopy. It is a world unto itself up there, a dense, layered landscape of leaves and branches and vines stretching upward into the light. And the way the leaves are arranged, the way each one is positioned to catch as much light as possible without blocking the leaves around it, is another expression of the Fibonacci pattern. The canopy is not chaotic, even though it looks that way at first glance. It is organized, balanced, efficient, in ways that become apparent only when you look closely and patiently. A butterfly emerges from behind a leaf and drifts through the air in front of you. It is enormous, much larger than any butterfly you've seen before, and its wings are a deep, iridescent blue that seems to change color as it moves, now darker, now lighter, depending on the angle of the light. This is not pigment. The blue color is created by the microscopic structure of the scales on the butterfly's wings, tiny ridges and grooves that reflect light in specific wavelengths. And the arrangement of those ridges, when examined under a microscope, follows patterns that are remarkably close to the Fibonacci sequence. The butterfly does not know this. It simply flies, and its wings catch the light, and the result is something so beautiful that it takes your breath away. The butterfly lands on a broad, waxy leaf and opens and closes its wings very slowly, as though it is breathing. You watch it for a long time, and the morning light strengthens around you, and the dripping water continues its gentle rhythm, and the rainforest wakes up slowly, one layer at a time. A bird calls somewhere in the canopy, a single, clear note, repeated twice, and then silence again. Another bird answers from a different direction, a softer sound, more like a whisper. And then silence again. The birds are communicating, but their voices are so gentle, so measured, that the conversation feels almost like poetry. Near the base of a large tree, a vine has begun to climb. It is very young, just a few inches long, and it is curling around the trunk of the tree in a spiral. This spiral is one of the most visible expressions of the Fibonacci pattern in the rainforest. The vine does not decide to spiral. It grows toward the light, and the way it wraps itself around the support it has found creates a shape that is mathematically precise. If you were to measure the angle at which the vine turns with each twist, you would find a number very close to the golden angle, the angle that allows the vine to grow upward while covering as much of the trunk as possible. If you are feeling calm and peaceful right now, I want you to know that this is a gift you are giving yourself, the gift of stillness, of quiet, of simply being present in a beautiful place. If you would like to share that feeling, please leave a comment below. And if there are other stories on this channel that you have not yet heard, I hope you will explore the playlist. Each one is a different invitation to rest, and they are all here for you. The humidity in the rainforest means that everything here glistens. Every leaf, every branch, every stone is coated in a thin layer of moisture that catches the light and turns the whole forest into something that seems to shimmer. The air itself feels almost solid, thick and warm and heavy with moisture, and breathing it in feels like drinking something cool and refreshing. The rainforest is one of the wettest places on Earth, and the water cycle here is extraordinary. Water evaporating from the leaves, rising into the air, forming clouds, falling as rain, and being absorbed by the roots of the trees, which pump it back up to the canopy, where it evaporates again. It is a perfect loop, a perfect cycle, and it has been running here for millions of years. A small frog sits on a leaf near the ground. It is bright green, almost neon green, and its skin is smooth and slightly damp to the touch. The frog is a tree frog, though right now it is resting on the forest floor, conserving energy in the warm, humid air. Its eyes are large and golden, and they move independently of each other, taking in the world from two different angles at once. The frog does not move unless it has to. It simply sits and breathes and waits and is perfectly content. There is a lesson in that if you are willing to learn it. The lesson of stillness, of patience, of being exactly where you are without any desire to be anywhere else. Above you, a sloth moves along a branch so slowly that at first you might not notice it is moving at all. The sloth is one of the slowest creatures on Earth, and it moves this way, not because it is lazy, but because it is perfectly adapted to its life. It eats leaves, which are low in energy and take a long time to digest, and by moving slowly, it conserves the small amount of energy it has. The sloth's fur is home to tiny algae, which give it a greenish tint and help it blend in with the canopy. Everything about the sloth is an expression of quiet efficiency, of doing exactly what needs to be done, and nothing more. The morning light is growing stronger now, and the rainforest is fully awake. The sounds have multiplied. Birds calling, insects humming, water dripping, leaves rustling. But none of it feels loud or overwhelming. It feels layered, textured, like a piece of music with many instruments playing at once, each one contributing to a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. And beneath all those sounds, if you listen very carefully, you can hear the silence, the deep, underlying stillness that holds everything else in place. A ray of sunlight breaks through the canopy and falls directly on you, warm and golden. For a moment, you are illuminated, surrounded by green and gold, and the air around you seems to glow. The sunlight has traveled millions of miles to reach you here, and it has passed through layers of atmosphere and cloud and leaf, and by the time it arrives, It is soft and diffused and gentle. It warms your skin without burning it, and it feels like a blessing, like the forest itself is welcoming you, offering you its light and its warmth and its peace. You sit down at the base of the large tree, where the roots spread out across the ground in thick buttressed curves. These roots are not underground. They are above the surface, rising up from the soil like the walls of a small fortress, providing the tree with stability in the soft, wet ground. And the way they curve and branch as they spread outward from the trunk follows patterns that are shaped by the same mathematical relationships you have seen everywhere else. The tree does not think about this. It simply grows its roots in the way that gives it the most support. And the result is something that looks almost sculpted. The rainforest breathes around you, and you breathe with it, and the light filters down through the canopy in shifting, dappled patterns, and the water drips from leaf to leaf in its gentle rhythm, and you feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper into stillness. The forest is very old and very patient and very wise, and tonight it is sharing all of that with you. You close your eyes and you breathe, and you let the sounds of the rainforest carry you gently into rest. The rainforest canopy above you is a world of constant, gentle movement. Leaves turn and flutter in the slightest breeze, and the light that filters through them shifts and changes from moment to moment, creating a constantly evolving pattern of brightness and shadow on the forest floor below. It is like being inside a living thing, surrounded by movement and warmth and the quiet sounds of growth and life. The rainforest breathes, and you breathe with it, and the two of you are connected in a way that feels ancient and deep and profoundly peaceful. A small lizard moves along a branch above your head, its tongue flickering in and out as it tastes the air. The lizard is hunting insects, but it moves so slowly, so deliberately, that there is nothing alarming about it. It is simply paying very close attention to its surroundings, reading the world through its tongue the way you might read it through your eyes. The lizard's skin is a mottled green and brown, perfectly camouflaged against the bark of the branch, and if it were not moving, you might never notice it at all. It is a master of stillness, a creature that has learned to be invisible, and there is something deeply peaceful about watching it go about its quiet business. Near the base of a large buttress root, a tiny stream of water trickles across the ground. It is barely more than a film of water, just enough to keep the moss and the ferns at the base of the tree perpetually damp. But it is enough to sustain a tiny ecosystem of its own. Microscopic creatures live in this thin film of water, algae and bacteria and tiny invertebrates, and they go about their lives in complete silence, in complete darkness, without any awareness of the vast forest rising above them. They are part of the pattern, just as much as the great trees overhead, and the way they arrange themselves in the water, the way they divide the available space, follows the same mathematical relationships that shape everything else. The afternoon light is beginning to shift, and the shadows in the rainforest are growing longer and deeper. The air is still warm and humid, but there is a quality of softness to the light now, a golden warmth that suggests the day is beginning to wind down. The birds in the canopy are beginning to change their songs, shifting from the bright, declarative calls of midday to something softer and more contemplative and the whole rainforest seems to be settling, very gradually, into the quieter rhythms of evening. You have moved again, carried on the breath of sleep, and now you find yourself somewhere unexpected, in a garden. Not a formal garden with neat hedges and trimmed lawns, but a wild garden, a cottage garden, the kind that seems to have grown itself without any particular plan. There are flowers everywhere, in pots, in beds, climbing up fences and trellises, spilling over the edges of pathways in cascades of color. The air is sweet and warm, and bees hum lazily among the blooms, and the afternoon light falls across everything in long, golden slants. The world is turning right now as you rest. The earth spins on its axis, carrying you gently through the darkness, and the moon circles the earth, and the earth circles the sun, and the sun circles the center of the Milky Way, and all of it, every rotation, every orbit, every curve, follows the same quiet mathematics. And you are part of it. You are spinning with the earth, and orbiting with the moon, and traveling with the sun, and turning with the galaxy. And all of it is happening so smoothly, so gently, that you cannot feel it at all. You simply rest, and the universe carries you the way the ocean carries a leaf on its surface, without effort, without force, with nothing but the endless patient movement of something very large and very old and very kind. Sleep now. Let the pattern hold you. It has been holding you all along.
Bye bye.